Okay, let's walk through the code for janitorial cleanup. So the first thing we do is import our competition library files, and then we've got a couple of functions we're defining here. One is just to convert inches to millimeters because we're doing our measurements in inches. And then the second one is the bot cleanup main function. So you pass it in how much engine power you want for the maximum speed, and then it is going to reset the line stat because it's using the competition library line following or line detecting functions. So that's the very first thing, reset the line stats, and then you're going to drive forward using the competition library's forward function for 50 inches. That's what we measured from our starting point to the inside of the room. And then we're in our main loop, forever cleaning out the space, removing the objects from the room. So we run our fancy lights. That's just a bot competition library function there. And then there's two main functions that we call throughout this loop. First, we're checking the line sensors here. So we call the update line sensors function. And then we also check the proximity sensors here. So we call the prox follow steer function to do that. So let's look at what we do when we hit a line. When we hit a line, we're looking at the line count. So the competition library gives us a function to see every time we update the line sensors, it checks to see have we crossed another line, so it can count the number of lines you've crossed. So we're really the first line we cross. If it's greater than 0, then we're like, oh, we know we've crossed a line, but we also want to make sure we were clear of the line. So there's a status, are we on the line or not? So that's true or false. So if we've crossed a line, but we're not currently on it, that means we've potentially pushed a cup completely out of the line. So we're going to back up. So we're going to use bot forward, go back 6 inches with negative power. So that'll actually reverse the bot 6 inches. And then we're going to rotate by 90 degrees. So those are two functions that we're calling there to do that. And then, so once we've hit a line, we back up, we rotate 90 degrees, we reset those line stats because we want the line count to be back to 0, and that's what that does. Okay, so then the next thing we're going to do, and that only happens if we hit a line, so we're going to check the steering, check the proximity sensors that are facing forward to see if we see an obstacle, and that steer value will either be none, meaning no object was detected, or it will be a number from -1 to +1. So it can tell us whether we're supposed to rotate to the left or rotate to the right. We're going to take that number and we're going to convert it to a less hard turn. So we're going to make sure we're not, if you remember drive power, a turning value of 0 drives straight, and -1 rotates counterclockwise, +1 rotates clockwise fully, and anywhere between that it's sort of arcing one way or the other, right? So a 0.1 here, if we multiplied the steer value by 0.1, it would be a very slight arc in whatever direction the steering is telling us to do. So we're going to use 0.2 right now, just so we kind of, the bot veers towards the object instead of just stopping and rotating. Okay, but if no object is detected, we're just going to go straight. We're going to keep driving straight across the room, which means we'll probably hit a line, back up and turn, and see if we can find another object. So when an object is in view, we're veering towards it to push it out of the room. So those are the main functions that we've defined, but we've not done anything yet. So the main program here, if you see the indentation is all the way out to the edge, meaning this is what's being executed. We call the calibrate function for the line and the calibrate function for the proximity sensors. So when this is called, remember when you do line calibrate, you want to first have the bot placed with its middle line sensor over the line, on top of the line, and then the edge line sensor, in this case line sensor 0, off the line. So this way it knows whether it's a light line or a dark line, and it knows the threshold between light and dark. Same with prox calibrate. You want to set the bot so that either there's no object in front of it, because it's going to calibrate to the level that it's going to calibrate the level of sensitivity. So when you call prox calibrate, the function is going to determine how sensitive can it be without detecting an object. So if you wanted to place an object in front but at a certain distance out, then you're going to train, basically this trains the proximity sensors to ignore something at that distance and look for something closer. So the last thing, we actually have a little loop here that waits for a button to press, button 0 to be pressed, and it's going to blink LED 0 while it's doing that. And then once you've pressed that button, it's going to start cleaning. Enable the motors and call bot cleanup, and we're giving it a power level of 50. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the code. Happy coding.